to another East October challenge. We are so excited to be doing another one. We have the lovely Erica Arcudi with me today, and she is going to be working from life. She's going to be doing a floral arrangement that she's put up here, and it's so lovely. And I'm going to be working from just a detail of it's basically a Mastercopy detail. So the reason we have two different things, that way you can give yourself an opportunity to do either. We want to always make these things feel flexible in something that you might have in your studio or what you're inspired by doing. Don't let that be the deterrent to try this challenge for you, to try something new. Everything sounding good? Mm-hmm. Okay. So luckily, everything's sounding really good and all the cameras are working, so we should have a fabulous day, and we're looking forward to you joining us. So what I'm working on today is a detail from one of John Singer Sargent's paintings, and we have a whole list of different paintings. You can do a detail shot, you can do a full painting. We have some that are a little bit easier, some that are a little bit more difficult. The goal of today is to work on doing soft edges up to hard edges. I think this is very important because when you're looking from life, which that would be the most challenging, or maybe even from a photo, what happens is that all edges seem to be treated the same. And one of the beauties of paint and manipulating paint that we have to our advantage to create an illusion of depth is by actually understanding how to do soft edges up to hard edges. So what I have found in my experience is that people often, if they've made this beautiful drawing, they'll try to paint up to the edges of where they have the drawing because they're so scared of losing the drawing. When you do that, what happens is oftentimes you create halos in your painting. And people like, for example, Sargent was a great example of this, is where he would paint a whole scene and then sometimes he would scrape it off and create a ghost image. And that inevitably created all sorts of not only soft edges, but created a little bit more of a harmonious relationship because of the coloring of everything. So what we're going to try to do is start super soft, as if you're looking through a bit of a foggy glass. And then we're going to build up onto that, making choices of hard edges. Now, the painting that I have chosen, the choices are made for me. And I'm going to try to do something similar to the choices that Sargent has done. And I would recommend that you look at a painting in that light. So you can learn something from that and then take that to life and see how you could apply it to life. So you want the biggest challenge, do it from life or from a photo. If you want something that helps guide you a little bit more, look at what the old masters did and try to use that as an experience. So that's what I'm doing today, and Erica is going to be doing from life. Mm-hmm. So
a bit of interpretation going to happen.
And luckily, everyone gets an opportunity to see her mad knife mixing skills.
You're calling it lucky.
Trust me, she is far better at mixing with her knife than I am. So she wields it so well.
I don't know about that.
But I just need to put a few more colors down, and we'll be going from here. I'm going to do very minimal drawing for the purpose of kind of pushing the idea of the softness. Just going to kind of lay down a few lines here and there and then kind of go from there. So,
Louis, when you have a second, we need the reference images on Squarespace. Can you log in really quickly so I can do that?
Yes. Sounds good.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone. We thought we had the reference images up. We'll have them up very shortly, and then we'll put a link not only in the live stream, but we'll also put a link down in the show notes. That way it'll be easy for you to access. So for those of you who be patient, we'll get those up for you, and you can just watch what we're doing up until the point we have those ready. All right.
So how is the approach that you're taking today different from how you usually approach a painting?
I think that the only difference really is that I'm being very intentional about my edge work in the beginning, and I'm going to draw a lot less at the beginning and use more of the large shapes to define the drawing, and use my brush to kind of push things around, considering that they will be all in relationship to each other. So, and then I kind of am working on hard edges and soft edges all equally at the beginning, and then kind of sharpen more and soften more as I go, as I'm like making decisions. But in this instance, I have found that the best paintings I've made were ones where I made far more nebulous and then kind of built up and sharpened things as I went. And then the ones like the paint handling, the edge work, everything seemed to be better. So, so it's just, I think, a good practice for people to see that the getting out of control sometimes gives you more control, which is kind of what I feel like a lot of our exercises have been themed. That idea.
I think having that connectivity already happening at the beginning of the painting is really useful, because then you don't have that effect of where things feel maybe disjointed or feel maybe disconnected, or things are standing out that you don't want them to stand out. Like you're already getting that sense of air and atmosphere from the beginning, and it's always easier to pull something out than it is to connect it again. So it's nice to kind of like already have that happening.
Yeah, that's good. You know, it's funny because it's counter to my training at GCA, but it's most certainly ways that other people train, and something that I feel like we can get highly accurate drawings at where I studied. But one of the issues there is that you get fearful of going outside the lines, which is, I think, necessary sometimes for the paint to marry well with other objects in the painting. So
I often find that when I'm kind of focusing on getting one edge perfect, it ends up creating this kind of sharpness, and even if my ankles are all quote unquote correct, it doesn't have the same, it won't look right because it's not connecting to the environment. I'm not thinking of it spatially enough.
Yep.
And so if you think of that earlier on, then you end up being in a way more accurate.
Yeah, totally.
I'm doing something a bit different from how I usually paint today. Going in with my paper towel here and going super soft and working my way into the drawing. It's almost like a wipeout, but without wiping it out.
Oh, and I forgot, that's like one of the also one of the really great things that you're doing slightly different than I'm doing is like you're doing sort of a wipe method, whereas I'm using brushes. And that's another excellent way to achieve that softness from the beginning. Honestly, I think that's all the drawing I'm going to do.
We have some people joining, and the reference images are up. I just put the link, so
Perfect.
everything is good. We have, let's see, Joyce from Washington. We have Matt from California. Alyssa is saying, Erica's back. Yay, love Erica's insights delivered in her gentle and calming voice.
Oh, thanks.
We have Jonathan from Maine. Julie is here as well. Esteban. And we have Millie Millie Guthrie from
Millie.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Hi,
Our
Millie.
friend Millie.
Oh, I love Millie.
She says, "Hello, my dear friends. It's Millie from Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you very much for sharing all these lessons with the art community. Awesome lessons. You are the best."
Well, you are the best, Millie. We love you. Can't wait to see you the next time I am in town in sweet, wonderful, hot Arizona.
And Matt is saying, "You would choose one of the toughest parts of Sargent's paintings,
Oh, yeah.
the hands."
I know. I know. This is going to be quite the challenge. But if I'm not facing my fears, then what good am I as a leader if I'm not leading by example? You know? So now, the other thing I'm doing differently, because Erica was asking earlier, what am I doing differently, is I'm not using, at the beginning stages, so that I can keep those really soft edges, I'm not using any lean medium like I typically do. So that way everything's a bit more fuzzy. And I'll add more paint as we go, but this allows me to like be able to kind of push things around a little bit, push and pull, and not get too sharp with my edges. So, and also, if you want to join me on this crazy challenge of doing the Sargent piece, we do have that as one of the reference images. So you totally can paint along with me.
Yep. We have two hands on there because today I guess we were feeling like we should paint some hands. So we have the hands, we have a landscape painting, which is really nice, still lifes, a portrait, very nice reference images today.
All right, good set of images.
We have Judith from Virginia, Caesar from Portugal, Sue from Virginia, Sue Braswell.
Awesome.
Benjamin Lester's here, and he's saying, "I'm good at painting fingers if you need a hand with that." LOL.
I love these puns. It's always good to hear both of them are on, both Sue and he. That's great. So glad that y'all are continuing to join us through this. We were talking about it. We think that the people who all complete the challenge, that we need to like create some sort of like completion memorabilia for all of you, and you submit like all the evidence that you completed the full 20 days, you know, and you get something in return. It'd be fun to hear what people would enjoy as a badge of honor if we ended up doing that. And if you like that idea.
Do we all get the badges of honor for being a part of running it?
Well,
'Cause
you
I
absolutely,
want a badge of honor.
y'all you absolutely get even more so something of deep gratitude, for sure.
We have someone, I believe it's pronounced Balder, from Austria, saying hi from Austria. And Benjamin Lester says, "I canceled my afternoon meetings to be here."
What?
Just kidding. I had no
Okay.
meetings.
Okay. I was about to say, I was like, please don't quit your job just to be a part of this. Like, I'm honored, but at the same time, your job is important. Make sure you go to your job. As always, if I am doing a variable like this, I try to keep the other things the same. So like, I still, as always, am going in and working with my largest shapes first and less significant shapes first, and building up to the more significant shapes.
In regards to the badge of honor, Matt is saying, "Don't tempt me. I'll be like a kid in high school trying to finish all these days in one night."
Oh, I love it. Yeah, man. I would love to hear, were you a project person or were you a test person in school? For me, I absolutely was not good at tests. I read slowly, and it's always been sort of an issue, and I have been clever in how different ways of getting around my disability. But I was a rock star at projects because I could easily shoot for a deadline and do it on my own time, whereas sometimes I'd get test anxiety and could never finish a test because I couldn't read fast enough to finish. And until my teachers discovered that and I got tested for it, then I got extra time. But up to that point, I was a project person. Still am. Still enjoy that even more because I feel like you can really learn something about a person if how well they could do a project.
I certainly did not enjoy the tests.
Yeah.
I found
Yeah.
like a lot of the effort was figuring out the strategy of the test
Right.
versus knowing the content well enough and
Mhm.
understanding it thoroughly.
Yep.
And so sometimes that would trip me up.
Backfire. Mm-hmm.
Or like I would read into a question one way, but that wasn't the intent of the question. And so then, like, okay. I'm happy I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, isn't that great? I loved school. I love learning. I still I'm a perpetual podcast listener because I feel like it's my way to get to learn still. However, I really didn't enjoy the test taking side of it. If I could just audit classes, that would be my
Okay.
favorite. I would eat it up.
I didn't mind foreign language tests personally, just because like all of the studying you're basically doing by participating in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was, sure there were things like memorization that you had to do, but often it was, kind of enjoyed using the thing, it was more like I'm using the skill that I'm building
Yep.
versus like having to memorize a bunch of stuff.
It had purpose
Yeah,
for you.
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just trying to line up different parts of this painting, kind of using my soft edges to still build up a bit of the drawing, not committing to anything so that I could like look over the drawing and see kind of what's going on. But kind of just getting a sense of what the colors will be and what the values will be.
Millie says, what about an East Oaks t-shirt, hat, or apron for memorabilia?
If we
Apron
did
would
a
be cute.
t-shirt, hat, or apron, which one does everyone vote? Be fun to hear what people have to say there.
I'd wear the smock. I'd wear that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I would be afraid to get it dirty. I think that would be my thing. We have a vote for apron. Let's see what everyone else thinks.
Oh, okay. Apron would be fun.
Looks kind of cool.
Well, Harriet is saying, Lewis, I was inspired to go out plein air painting after watching you all. Thank you,
Oh.
thank you. What colors are you using for the skin shadow?
Ooh, for the skin shadow, I don't think I've gone past much on, I used my ultramarine blue, and my transparent oxide red, and maybe a hint of black, but the red and the blue together make a beautiful gray, and I can warm it up or cool it down. So I think I started with just that, and maybe just a hint of other colors if I felt like I needed to like go a little bit more violet or vice versa. So, but I bet most of it was just the blue and red, because that's kind of my go-to color. Also, if you notice, I'm using a bristle brush at the very beginning. Often I use a soft brush, but a harder brush, like a hog's hair brush, does really well at creating good soft edges. That's why I'm using it. So if you want like just a little bit, I wouldn't call it a pro tip, but a tip to help you achieve more of what you're trying to achieve, use a hog's hair brush at the beginning. See how that does for you.
We have Alyssa saying apron. We have Paul. He says hello from Paul and Brenda, South Wales, United Kingdom. They vote for a t-shirt. And Joyce is also voting for an apron, but she says, but unfortunately I missed a couple days, so no prize for me.
Oh, no, you can still go back. You can still go
Yeah.
back just if you complete them. That's all we care about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it would be fun to have something that could be, you know, we've talked about merch for a while, and I feel like that would be a way to kind of kickstart the whole merch thing, you know. Not years ago we actually didn't end up doing it, but I really wanted to. My brother is in the whiskey industry, and he's a corporate attorney for a big whiskey company, and they have this thing called the Whiskey Trail in Tennessee. And what you do is there's all these different bourbon locations throughout the state of Tennessee that you can go to, and they're like Woodford Reserve is one of them, and Jack Daniel's is another one, and Three Roses I think is another one. Maker's Mark. Anyway, they have all these different ones. And for my bachelor party, I thought it'd be fun with my friends that we spent 2 days kind of going from East Tennessee to West Tennessee to all the different places. And if you get that you can get a stamp in each location. And if you show the stamp online, you can show and they sign everything off, that you can go and, purchase a t-shirt to show that you accomplished the task. And I thought that was just so cool, So I always want to get myself one of those t-shirts. So I thought that'd be fun for us to have maybe an East Oaks version of that, where any challenges or kind of accomplishments like that we can hopefully make some sort of thing for people to say that they did it.
Esteban saying, I would buy an East Oaks cap or cup or shirt.
Oh,
So,
cup is a cool idea too.
A
I like
mug
that.
would be cool. And Millie says, paint is the badge of honor. Apron or hat? And she asks, do you use hats to paint? Some artists have to have a hat to avoid light over their eyes. What do you think about that?
I actually, for the most part, always wear a hat. And I do find that it helps me. I haven't during this live stream, just so that you can see my face, and because it'd be just heavily shadowed in the camera. But no, I typically almost always wear a hat, and I feel like it does help. But I don't think it helps enough to where it would make a difference for some of these exercises. But no, it's that little extra something that helps you kind of get what you need done,
When plein air painting, I think it's essential.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you don't even have any umbrella overhang
Yeah.
on your stuff. It's so helpful to have a hat on a bright day.
One thing I'm doing is really, really, really squinting down to make sure I'm seeing how there's so much connectivity going on. And especially with a flower, there's so many lines and so many petals, and trying to squint it all away and really focus on the big light impression. And one thing that we talked about a lot in the studio is soft and specific. And so just because things are soft doesn't mean it's generic. And so, having connectivity where you want it to be, having, there's still geometry even if the edge is sharp, or sorry, even if the edge is soft, there's still like underlying geometry happening. So keeping all of those things in mind when you're prioritizing softness.
I think my easel says, well said, Erica. I think my easel is not used to me having such thick paint, because I paint with medium at the beginning. It's like, whoa, and it's wobbling all over the place. I might try to fix that here in a second so that doesn't like make our audience seasick watching me put the paint down.
We have some more input about the memorabilia. And this person says aprons are always useful. And they also said hello from North New Jersey. And Paul Anthony Barker says, what about a calendar with East Oaks paintings? I'd buy one. That's a good idea.
I love that. That could be really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
A calendar would be really nice. See, folks, I might not have had that idea unless y'all had suggested it. Sometimes I'm like, do people even use calendars anymore? I feel like they're all on their phone, but my wife does. My wife loves having a calendar, and Evie, I think, said that she does too. Do y'all?
We were just talking about this the other day.
Oh,
like,
were you?
Like hard calendar versus the
Digital
one.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I need both.
Yeah, yeah.
Me too. I love having a digital planner and a physical planner.
Yes.
And I use both.
Good to know.
The switcher just popped off and popped back on. Okay,
Well, that scares me, but hopefully we won't lose everybody.
Oh, well, it looks like it's still going. And Benjamin Lester says men with pretty hair shouldn't wear hats. Just saying.
Remember, Jacob Collin would often wear a hat, but he would wear a baseball cap and like squinch it down and just have it resting on his head, where it was just the visor he needed. And he would kind of have it where it was like laying on his head and kind of like look through the top while he was working.
Yeah.
I know Susan Lyon often wears a visor when she's painting. So Daniela, I think, wore a really pretty little visor when she was out painting for our video.
It was actually my hat.
Was it really?
Really?
Look at that. You should go be fashionable and wear it for us today.
Next video.
Next video, we'll have Erica on with her hat.
I'm not going to remember it and put it on my calendar.
Yeah, your hard copy calendar.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and block in this white down here. Just go ahead and kind of like, whoa, it's a little blue.
Do you find it challenging to mix and match your color from the computer screen? Or how do you go about doing that usually?
I don't think I do. I mean, I don't think I do any more than I would in life, because color is all just context. And so by the time I get stuff down, I'll realize that I'll need to adjust it, you know, and I'm just trying to get it down. But I think, no, I think that it doesn't get to me too bad. It's funny because I have my tray in front of me today, and I feel like I'm practicing the stool of shame day a little bit more than I have in the other days. So looking forward to doing stool of shame day.
Was that intentional or just did it happen?
It was one of those
practicing
things
for
where
it.
I was like, I had it in front of there, and I was like, oh, well, this will be fun, and decided to keep it there anyway. And plus, we have a lot of cameras really close to us today, so we're a little bit more limited in space than we have been in the past, and so it just worked out really well.
Well, we have more people joining us. We have Jasmine Shelby. She says, hey, everyone. Sorry to be late. No problem. Thank you for joining us. We have Guy Bailey. He says, wow, what a great channel. Guy from England. First time.
Oh, wonderful. Well, glad you're here. Feel like with all the new people, I like to put in a bit of a caveat. This is not a quick YouTube video. This is us all hanging out while we paint in long form. And so I'd love to have you. We're hopefully great for people who just want to paint along or have something in the background while they're working at their studio, or feel like they get to be a part of a community, because the studio can be a lonely place if you paint alone. So we're here for all of those people. And we're absolutely honored to have you.
We also have a comment from Jane Grayson. She's saying, I don't use a calendar unless it's printed from the electronic, so how about a sketch pad with East Oaks paintings on opposite pages?
Ooh, that's really unique. I have not heard anyone doing that. That might be fun. You know, something different that people have gotten done in the past.
We also have B.A. Humdinger, says, thank you, East Oaks crew. And Lean says, good morning from the Netherlands, painting along on the edges of my own work.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's so great to have all these people in. We're honored to get to be a part of your world.
We also have a comment from Matt, and his username is funny. It's Matt's Toaster, so it sounds like his comment is coming from his toaster and not him. He says, chroma and sometimes value can be slightly tough from a computer screen. They seem to make colors brighter and more saturated than in life. Just my thoughts. Yeah, I could totally see that.
No, I would have totally agree to that. Anytime you're doing a Mastercopy, you just have to almost like bite the bullet and just decide on one, because no photo on your computer or printed is going to even be close to the accuracy of the real thing. And you just have to kind of bear through it. It's not fun, but it's the reality we live in. But yeah, I did one of a painting, William Truss Richards, I had talked about a few days ago. And I had like 15 different photos of the same painting, and you know, trying to figure out what would be the best one to use, and would work from some for some parts and others from other parts. And then I found that they were actually putting up that exact painting for sale at a gallery in New York. And I emailed them and said, could you please just take like one more photo for me? How long is it going to be there? And they're like, well, if it doesn't sell, it'll be here for a month. And I was like, I'm not going to be up there. And so I was a bit bummed by it, but he ended up sending me a photo from his iPhone of it in the frame, and it was just as bad. It was just as bad. I couldn't figure out which one was the right one to use, so I just decided at the end of the day, just choose one and be okay with it. go from there.
I heard a term the other day where it was kind of going over when you have so many decisions and you can't decide on anything because there's so many options, and it's called decision paralysis. And I thought that was such a good term, and it happens to me like way too often. Like I finished a painting yesterday, and now I'm going to start a new one, and I have all of these reference images that I took, and I have decision paralysis because there's so many options and I can't pick one.
Yeah, it's tough. I think in conjunction with that, I used to say paralysis by analysis, where if I'm like overthinking something and I can't make a move forward because I'm overthinking it. So I find like sometimes that's how I feel when I have quote unquote decision paralysis too. It's like trying to be like, well, is this the best option? Is this the best option? Because you want the best option. And it takes me forever to make a decision because of that same thing.
Yeah. So if anyone has any solutions, send them our way.
You could tell everybody else and be like, be very democratic about it and say, hey, let's do a vote. What do you guys think out of these photos I should paint next?
I did that at one point for the painting I did for Collins Galleries with me and Brian, Save Our Souls. And I remember I asked, I think Evie, Erica, and I think you too, Louie, and I don't think anyone could decide. So I ended up just cutting out and pasting my head onto a different reference image. So I basically just combined the two reference images, and it was just a happy medium.
There you go. Sometimes if the audience is indecisive, that helps you kind of go, okay, I'm just going to decide. And you do
Yeah.
it, you know.
Because there really is no right answer. Not everything need or has a correct answer.
That's right.
And we have a question from Cove. Question for all of you. Who is your favorite old master painter? If you had to name one.
I mean, it's like saying, what's your favorite movie? You know, it's like I've got like 25.
And you forget
favorite
every movie that
movies.
you've ever seen.
Yeah, and then you absolutely forget all the, yeah, totally right. Man, I have so many floating in my head. Do you have a particular one surfacing immediately, Erica?
You don't want to make a decision?
Oh, exactly. I'm paralysis by analysis in my head right now.
Paralysis.
I think there, it depends on subject matter too, because there are ones where I love their landscapes, or I love their portraits, or love their figure, things like that. I think old masters that immediately come to mind: Fantin Latour, Ilya Repin, Isaac Levitan, and I like Giulio Aristide Sartorio. There's so many, and I know I'm forgetting people too.
Oh, yeah.
That's who comes to mind at the
Yeah.
moment.
That's a good list.
That's a really great list. I mean, I feel like I have all of those on my list in somewhere in that
Emil
top 10.
Carlsen, oh my
Emil,
gosh.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't say him
Emile
first.
Friant,
Yeah.
also great.
Yep. Both of those are incredible painters.
Botticelli.
I have Sorolla also on my list. I love Sorolla's work. I mean, do I even have to mention Sargent? I love. I mean, it's easy to just be like, oh, I love the Zorn and Sargent and all the main guys, but there are a few of them that I really love that are not as known, and I'm trying to think about who those people are in my head. So.
There are ones too where I adore a couple paintings from them, but I really love them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really love Jules Breton and Is it George Clawson? Yeah, George
Yeah, he's
Clawson. So I kind of also have them like broken down sometimes as like American painters versus, so like I love Wyeth and Homer as far as American painters are concerned.
I like Edward Hopper.
Yeah, Hopper. And it's funny because I feel like all three of those, Wyeth was really influenced by both Hopper and Homer. And you can see it in their work because all of them have a sense of solitude often as one of their themes in their work. And it comes across in unique ways in all three of their works, which is really fun.
I think if I had to pick just one, it would be Bastien Lepage.
Lepage.
Because his paintings are great, and I have a book on his life written by one of his friends, and I don't remember who wrote it, but he has a really cute origin story as to how he became a painter. And the way that the book described it, I remember they said that he used to work full-time at the post office while he was trying to earn money to go study from, I think it was Bouguereau. And at one point, he had a letter of recommendation from Bouguereau himself, and he took it to one of his mentors that he wanted to learn from. And in the book, it was really cute because they quoted it as armed with a letter from Bouguereau, he headed to the studio to show this teacher his letter. And
Wow.
he has a really good life story, and he died when he was
So young.
pretty young, 38, from some kind of cancer. So I think he might be my favorite.
That's such a cool story. I loved that, Tina. That was great.
It's a good little book. Found on Amazon for $5.
Really? Wow. Oh, I also love Mancini.
Yes.
Mancini, he's just and I love him because he's kind of a madman, He's really crazy with his chunky paint and colors, and the texture just is wild and works.
Have you seen the, it's called On the Eve of Her Wedding? I think it's the woman with her hands on the chair, and she's smiling towards the viewer. It's a really, really cute portrait. Do you know that
Yes,
one? Yes.
Yep.
That's at the Milwaukee Museum.
Oh,
and
is
I
it?
saw it in person, and it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
They have that one, and then they have The Wood Gatherers from Lepage.
That one's amazing too. Love that.
I don't
one.
know what it's doing in Wisconsin, but if anyone's in Wisconsin, go to the Milwaukee Museum. It's got an amazing collection.
Good old Milwaukee. Last time I was there, I was in high school.
Fix that later.
So in the spirit of this, I got to make sure that I'm wanting to overlap my marks and keep them pretty soft. I'm trying to have the brush do a lot of that work for me, but still is important to make sure I'm thinking about it. This is fun because it's so different from yesterday, where yesterday we were doing big brush day, and there are some things that were similar, but because I was working super chunky, super thin, and then really heavy with paint. But this one I'm working thin but dry, and so lots of interesting new ways of thinking and playing with the paint, and that's part of it. Is just discovery, kind of going through and figuring out how to discover parts of this painting.
I think one thing that's consistent with both of our approaches right now is that we're not using a lot of medium
Yep.
And so working more paint into paint rather than using medium, I think that can help you create softer edges. If people are like, how do I do that? How do I create a soft edge? I think of it's like a lot of what students ask.
Mm.
You know, part of it I think is seeing it in your own brain of like, or prioritizing connectivity. So 1st you're wanting to find moments of overlap and flow. But then I think also in terms of how you're painting, you can kind of set yourself up well by painting more wet into wet and with dry paint. I know that doesn't make sense verbally, but
Yeah, no, it does though. Isn't everyone glad that Erica's on here? She's was it Alyssa that said it? You know, she
Yes.
has got such great insights.
And then Sue, I think it was Sue, also had
Was
a
it
comment.
Sue?
Let me see. No, she had 2 people that were very excited to see her, who made comments.
As they should be.
Oh, I forgot.
thanks guys.
Yes, Sue Braswell. I don't remember what you were talking about, but she says, Erica, what you just said was worth the price of admission. Thank you.
Yay.
I think texture also can give you the illusion of softness, but it's not something you want to overdo. You know, or like do it for its own sake, you know? But I think that, for example, right now, I have a lot of like brushy marks, a lot of movement, because if I paint too heavy and too opaque and almost clear, then it stands out, and I'm not ready to do that yet.
Yeah.
So. And I'm also using, this came in a Filbert kit, I think, or not kit, set. Thank you, Tina. I'm always like looking for you
knew
when I'm
what you
talking.
meant.
It's like, what's the word? What's the word?
I think of painting and then like my words are out the window. But so I don't actually know what these are. I have to look at the label. Ebony Filbert? Ebony? Anyway, I like them because it gives you have the softness, or like where you're not leaving too many marks or like too many thick ridges behind of a bristle, or of a soft brush or like a sable, but you get more of the soft application of a bristle. So I don't remember what these are, but I like them. I've like worn off the handle. So Series 278. I'll have to look that up.
From Rosemary Co. Well, Susan is saying, love the beginnings of Erica's painting. Looks so abstract with so much movement.
Yeah. Here's such a great example, like right here on this part of the hand. There's just like, it's like so soft where this hand blends right into the dress and the back of the other part of the hand. Just keeping that like really soft as I build it up.
I like the color harmonies you've gotten so far. That pink is really nice.
Oh, thank you. Luckily, the color harmonies have been kind of decided for me. It's just making sure that I do them justice, you know.
Follow the recipe.
Follow the recipe.
And Matt is asking, what's everyone's favorite color of paint? And then he says, Prussian green I just found out about the other day, and it's an awesome color I never knew about. If you had one color. If you were on a deserted island
And
and
you
you
have
can
one-
And
only
you could bring one color.
one paint tube, what would
You
it
wouldn't
be?
do much painting. Kind of almost need two. Well, you don't really, I guess.
You could dig
you
up
could-
some rocks and create
Yeah.
ochres.
Yep,
Yeah. So
exactly.
don't bring any of those.
Brown.
Don't bring the raw umber.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden you realize your whole island is just nothing but raw umber dirt. Let's see. You know, let's just say two colors. If it was two colors, I could. Probably one of my favorite combinations is oxide yellow and violet. I just love the way they interact with each other, and I think they would be lovely.
I would. Okay, so to answer the favorite colors question, I think I always try to find ways of using quinacridone magenta, even if it's not like related to the painting. I'll find a reason to include it.
Like this would be nice.
Yeah, like this, that'll help me get that red, and it's like a warm red, a warm light red, and I go for the quinacridone magenta. I don't use it in my paintings that much, but I love Viridian. I just think it's so pretty.
It is a pretty color.
We have a question from Alyssa for Erica, and she's asking, could you please expand more on connectivity?
So I think of connectivity in a few ways. First, we can think of it as with the light, starting with the light. So thinking flow of light. So looking at the light is coming from the upper left, and so I look at how the light is over the entire setup, not just one element. And so what that does is, if you think of it how the light is flowing everywhere, then you can look at how the shadow shapes connect and how the light shapes flow into each other. You can go flow of light and all that kind of stuff. I think of connectivity too in more of a design abstract sense. So I'm looking at shapes and how I can go, I start at one point. I want to be able to flow into the rest of the painting and not get stuck anywhere. And if I'm back here, I want to be able to like somehow make it over here again. So maybe it's this edge of the petal kind of brings me over here. So there's kind of this circular movement happening on an abstract level. I'm also thinking of connectivity in terms of depth. So I'm looking at, we have objects, and we have a background, and we have space in between everything. And so I want it to feel like I can kind of walk through the painting and kind of move through it. And so I need the back areas to connect into the background and kind of flow into the background. And then conversely, in order for that to read like that, I need something to come forward. So I'll bring forward some of these petals here and some of the leaves that overlap, so you get that sense of like something turning either into the background and connecting to the background or pulling forward. Connectivity you can also think of with color. So you don't just have like random color or random values, you have them moving into each other. So I think of it in many ways.
What a beautiful explanation.
I'm telling you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys,
The vote for Erica just being here every day.
Yeah.
She's like, all of a sudden, I'm going to rethink how I answer these questions.
one challenge I'm going to be facing for this painting is, as I go more opaque, how can I maintain the sense of connectivity and flow and harmony within the painting? So there's something about when things are soft, they can mean anything and they can be anything. And so once you start to solidify something or sharpen something, then that's where you have to kind of trust the process and keep going with it.
Yeah.
Well, Joyce is saying, I love Erica's background to object connection statement. Well said.
I'm remembering the first project of third year was the pear project at Florence, and Ramiro gathered everyone around and was telling us about how to approach this still life painting. And he's like, you imagine you're a little ant and you're like walking through the setup. You're like, whoa, there's a pear, and you're like you're going through every little like mountain and valley and all that space. And so, like by doing that, you kind of really get into the, you're really connecting with the setup, and you're not just thinking, oh, I have to copy this thing, or like, oh, I'm going to copy this shape or this color. Like you're really feeling all of it. So.
Interesting. You're experiencing it from a different perspective that way. Cool. And we also have a question for you regarding your palette. Chantal is asking, can you tell what colors are on Erica's palette, please?
Sure. So I have, I basically have on my palette most of the colors I would ever use, and so I might not use all of them for this painting. But I have a little bit of ivory black, and I did use a touch of it, I think, in one of these mixtures. Anyways, ivory black, ultramarine. This is ultramarine violet, which I've been experimenting with to see how it works with my yellows and greens and knocking them down. I have manganese violet, transparent yellow oxide. I have transparent red oxide. This is permanent crimson, which is a quinacridone variant from Williamsburg. This is quinacridone magenta. I have vermilion, yellow ochre. It's actually Roman ochre from Zecchi, but it's the same color. This is genuine Naples yellow dark. This is cadmium yellow, medium, and lead white. And I'm using the Rublev #1, the one that's just lead white and linseed oil. So.
Nice. How's it going by you, Louie?
Oh, I'm having a blast. When am I not having fun, though, right? This has become my theme.
It's great.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I've gawked at this part of Sargent's painting for a very long time, so the fact that I'm getting to paint it and just experience some of what he was doing is so enjoyable. Hanging out with friends while you're doing it, both online and in person. I don't know if there's much more a guy could ask for. Or a girl, for that matter.
A person could ask for.
Yes, not much more a person could ask for.
Yeah, well, you definitely did not pick an easy painting to do.
No, but it's worth it. For sure. I'm keeping everything in mind, like as far as the drawing is concerned. I'm not trying to do it perfectly. I'm just trying to get kind of the right locations, close to the right locations for the big shapes, and then work into them a little bit more. I'm not worried about getting anything solidified right now, just trying to understand it.
And we have a question about the surfaces that you're painting on. So what surface are you both painting on today?
I am painting on an ACM panel that I prepped with lead alkyd ground. I did the prep work myself. That way I could get a smooth surface texture. And that's actually, in a way, I wouldn't say I'm working against it. I think that's too strong of a statement. But I think that one way you can achieve softness is if the surface that you're painting on has texture, something like canvas, like a rougher weave, that can lend itself to a more soft brush stroke. So right now, when I was starting the painting, that's why I liked using that paper towel, because I could achieve a very, very soft mark. I didn't build up really much paint, and it was very flexible like that. So, but it's what I usually paint on. What are you using today, Lewis?
I am using ACM panel, very similar to you. And I think, did you say you're using lead alkyd ground in that? Yes, I'm basically using the exact same thing. The tone is just a little bit different. And I rolled it with a sponge roller. And in this instance, usually I bat it down a little bit with a brush to kind of get rid of some of the eggshell nature of it. But this one is one that I didn't. So it's one of those where it's like I sometimes will do some that is more of an experiment to see how it would work. And then there's other ones that I do the way that I like it. So this is a perfect time to try an experimented one versus it being on, say, one of my commissions,
Yeah, there's a time and a place.
Right, exactly.
We have a comment from Esteban saying maybe you could sell East Oak shirts with Lewis's theme. Am I having fun?
Oh, we could have one that says exactly that. Are we having fun? This is fun. Yeah, that would be great.
We also have a question from Liam Matthew. He's asking, this may be a dumb question, but would you say chroma is the level of intensity of color and value is the contrast?
Well, it definitely is a level of intensity in a certain way in color. So it is, some people would say purity, some people would say intensity, and some people would say saturation. And none of them are quite wrong, because I don't know if we have the exact word to describe it. But
For chroma, right?
Yes.
You're talking about chroma.
So, but as far as value being the contrast, in order to get contrast, the range of your value extends. But you could also say that the control of value in certain areas might mean that there's minimal dark and light relationship. I think just dark and light is a better way of representing or describing value. So hopefully that was helpful for you.
And never feel afraid to ask questions like that.
Oh my
because
gosh.
It's so fundamental. And I think that, yeah, no shame in asking questions like that.
My sweet, lovely wife would say, there's no shame in that game. There's no shame in that game. Because there was a time where I was asking that exact same question.
I didn't know how to hold a palette until Florence Academy.
There you go.
I was like, what direction is this? I don't know.
Every old master had to learn what value was at one point and how to hold a palette,
It's important to be in a safe environment when you're first learning, to not be embarrassed to ask those questions.
Yes. if you're in a learning institution and you get embarrassed to ask those questions, you need to find yourself a new place to learn. Because fundamental is just as important as anything advanced. In fact, I would even venture to say that these kind of exercises, for example, are paramount for even somebody experienced, because it's kind of like the show "Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?" where you've like forgotten everything you learned as a fifth grader, and there's fifth graders smarter than you, and or retaining the knowledge that you once knew and you can't remember anymore. Sometimes it's just good to have those fundamentals.
And we also have a question from Cove, and they're asking, do either of you feel lead white is essential to figurative artists?
I am partial to my lead white. I think that when you're mixing flesh tones and you have rich color and warmth in a flesh tone, then lead white is the way to go in terms of bringing those tones out. It's not that in every context, it depends on the lighting, depends on a lot of factors, but titanium tends to be opaque and cold in terms of when it's mixing with other colors. It's also quite strong, and so you can very easily lean chalky with titanium white. And lead, being warmer, more transparent, allows you to have more of a range when it comes to lighter and warmer color values, which is naturally where or at least like the warmth and depth, like you can have more of that when you use lead white. And so portraits often are in that realm. And so that's why I'd suggest trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely suggest trying it out. To the question of it being essential, I don't know if any color is necessarily essential, as long as you've got something that can create light in the dark. But as far as painting skin tones are concerned, it absolutely helps create an extra dimension to the work. And so I would say that it is, I would say it's a paramount thing to use. But you most certainly can get skin tones with titanium. You might be handicapped in other aspects of what oil paint can do. I like to put that caveat in there just because, sometimes people can't maybe have access to it or afford it. And so I just want to make sure you know that don't stop painting because you don't have it. But to Erica's point, it probably is my favorite color now that we're talking about like favorite colors and favorite paints. Might be very vanilla to say that, but it's a powerful color for many reasons. Its archival nature, its transparency as a paint color, its softness and tinting strength, its warmth. Just a lot of stuff about it. I feel like I'm writing a love letter to
Dear lead white.
Dear lead white, your warmth is so lovely. I love your transparency.
It's like, I feel like lead white would be like the bad boy because it's dangerous, to handle.
Yeah.
But
Ooh.
when you really get to know him, he's a softie and he's very transparent and warm.
I do feel like
The
we're writing
romance novel.
exactly of painting. That's what we're going to give everybody as their gift, is a romance novel of painting.
A terrible romance
Our
novel
love
that we all
letter of
wrote.
lead white. Yeah.
A love letter to lead white.
If that's not like niche realism, oil painting joke, then
Yep.
I don't know what is.
And Matt is asking, when you say ACM, that's aluminum composite. And
Correct.
yes, that is correct.
You know what? I should have clarified. Sorry about that. But yes, that is correct.
And we have a question from Claudia. She's asking, do you recommend painting over old primers like oil on oil, similar to the background that Odd Nerdra makes? Thank you for these beautiful videos.
You know, I don't know if I can answer that because I'm not familiar with, like, I don't know the process that he uses, so I don't feel like I should comment on it.
He uses like the original gesso chalk and makes like a huge paste with a very warm color. I think he might put some sort of I can't remember the red color that he puts into it. Maybe either, I don't think it's Chinese vermilion. I think it might be like Venetian red or something. But there's some sort of warm tone that he'll put into it that is, if I remember correctly, non-toxic because he tends to sand it down. And no, it's a fabulous way to paint. I would say that you have to be very careful of its longevity. He's had some issues with his paintings breaking down because of that. Might have more to do with him using Permalba white than it does his foundation colors. But you can create an incredible effect by like sanding and talk about softening edges. If you have a ground like that and then you sand everything down, yeah, you've got some serious awesome soft edges going on. So speaking of, I'm going to go ahead in here and make sure that all of my edges in these parts are softened up.
I have like a brush fiber or hair fiber.
Issue?
Brush hair.
A brush hair issue? It's easy to happen.
Soft edges.
Boom. Right there. Achieved. Check.
I'm going to keep that spot.
Well, we have a question from Esteban. He says, sorry if you guys mentioned it before, and I know October hasn't finished yet, but I wonder if November will have more challenges or you guys having a break.
Well, we have not mentioned that, and glad you brought it up. So I will be doing a bit more content for the subscription platform. I'm working on a self-portrait tutorial video. And I have a few more pieces, and then Tina is doing a lecture for in November, I believe. She's doing a lecture, and then Evie is doing a lecture after that. So we have a few more pieces that are going on to our paid platform that we're working on, but we will have, on YouTube, we will have more painting from lives. And in our Discord group, I intend to continue to push challenges. We won't have a month-long challenge, but I want to maybe periodically, possibly as frequent as once a week and as seldom as once a month, where we push a challenge to our community. And but no, this won't be the last thing I create for the YouTube channel. In fact, it's like the beginning of kind of a new era of working on the channel. So, no, I intend for more stuff to be on there, but a month-long challenge or month-long journey. I won't be doing another one of these. I probably will do one more about once a year. I might do a month thing. And then, but I'll have some that might be like a week long, where I might paint along with everyone, and I might do one every quarter-ish, is what I'm thinking. So, but I wish if I had enough patrons, I would do this all the time, you know, and try to make it as free as possible. But sadly, as most artists out there, I have to make a living, and you know, I've invested a lot of time and money into this equipment that I need to pay off now. So, So if you're interested in helping support us, the more people I get on, the more often I'll be able to make this free content, because it's the people who are invested in our subscription platform are the patrons who are basically allowing us to create this content. So, so if you feel that you can afford it, there's much more content available on there, but be happy to continue to make as much as I can that is sustainable for me.
Yeah, I just posted the link into the chat for our subscription platform, because we do have some new people who have found eStokes, and they're probably like, what is this? So we have the paid subscription platform where we have all of our online workshops. So we have some videos from Lewis Carr. He has portrait painting videos on there. Alex Venezia has 3 painting videos on there, some still life and 2 portraitures. And we have Jeff Hine did a video, Grace DeVito, Michael Klein has multiple videos on there too. Lewis also does monthly open critiques. So we haven't done it for the month of October, but we're going to be bringing it back for the month of November, where the subscribers will submit their work, and then Lewis will give in-depth critiques of each individual artwork that is submitted. So if that's something you're interested in, I put the link in the chat so you can take a look and see what courses and workshops and stuff that's on there.
Thank you, Tina. When it comes to the hands, I keep the hands very loose so that I can like work through where I'm going to place everything. Just paying attention to where everything is sitting anatomically. Yet again, keeping it just not soft and fuzzy. And kind of like making sure that all of those points are welded and then together, as far as like just paint over paint, connected to paint, and then we'll continue to sharpen it up as we progress through this painting.
We had a few people with questions about the lead white. So Scott is asking, how does lead white compare with modern replacements like Gamblin's flake white replacement? And Paul is also asking, has anyone tried Gamblin's lead white alternative, which I believe is the flake white replacement? I feel like Livia has tried it, and I think she said she wasn't as big of a fan of it. I think she said it was kind of really thick. But has either of you tried it?
I have not tried it. For me, archival quality is really important, so I can't say that it has zinc in it because I don't know if it has zinc in it. But if it did, I would not use it because it's not a very stable pigment.
If Gamblin, trying to make sure I'm saying this, no, it's Golden that I'm thinking of. Williamsburg brand never has zinc white, just so y'all know, as a brand. They got rid of it several years ago. I think it was like 6 years ago. And Natural Pigments doesn't have zinc white in their stuff either. But other people you'll need to pay attention to. If you're still on a student grade level, you know, it's not something I think you have to like absolutely pay close attention to yet, but it's something that once you are making work that you're wanting to sell more, then I think it's something to consider. But if it is thick, like she was saying, like Livia was possibly saying, well, then it probably is mimicking some brands of lead white, because some brands can be quite thick. So in worst case scenario, you add a little bit of oleo gel to it or something, and then you can thin it out. And I do that all the time with my lead white, because like right now, my lead white is at the end of the tube. And even though I hang it upside down, which usually makes the oil go to the end of the tube, in this instance, it is like heavy, thick, dried up toothpaste. And like I have to like squeeze it with all my might out, and then I'll add a little bit of oleo gel. And in this instance, I'm cutting it with titanium white because I find it helps me with more alla prima style painting. So
I think calcium carbonate is another additive that helps things be more, or whites be more transparent. So it might be like titanium with calcium carbonate. I mean, zinc is more transparent, so that's why they use zinc sometimes in these imitation paints because it's more transparent. But so I don't know what is in this this mixture. If it's calcium carbonate, that's fine.
yeah, and silica. Silica glass can do the same thing. So, and it actually is a very stable thing to put in your paint.
I think there's historic precedent as well for
Absolutely.
Marble dust, glass, ground glass, things like that to be added into the paint.
And a lot of scientists today think that that's what's helped the longevity of a lot of the paintings is that silica glass or marble dust that's in the paint, and it can be very transparent. So it can help you glaze in a painting without the paint getting any thinner in a way. So
Keep that pigment volume concentration.
exactly.
Right.
Love it.
I have the Gamblin website pulled up and I'm reading what they say for their flake white replacement. And it's interesting. It says the first true non-toxic alternative to flake white. It says it's long, ropey stroke, warm color, translucency, and short brush mark. It says not only does our flake white replacement come without the lead, but it also doesn't suffer from the fast drying time of traditional formulations, which contributes to the cracking of oil paintings over time, which is interesting. I feel like that might not be. I feel like the fast drying, is that what can contribute to cracking? I thought
I feel
it was
like it
because
depends.
Can.
Yeah,
It
right?
can.
It can if you use it at like a final layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole idea of fat over lean is talking about how paint dries, because if you're painting too lean and then you paint too heavy, if you paint too fat on the bottom layers and it doesn't dry quick enough, then it's still shifting underneath the lean layer on top of it, and the lean layer dries faster. And so think about plaster of Paris on a balloon, and as the plaster of Paris hardens and the balloon continues to expand and contract, it creates all the cracks because the top layer has gotten dry faster than the bottom layer. And that's what's happening. So it can contribute, but it's not by any means the only contributor to what creates cracking. I mean, there's just tons of different things that can cause cracking, just zinc in itself causes cracking, So like it just depends. And if you really want to educate yourself on it, there's no better place than to go to Rublev or Natural Pigment's website, and he does classes called Painting Best Practices, and he goes through all the chemistry and science to help with that. So it's just a world of knowledge and a great place to go.
Well, we have a comment from Sasha about your self-portrait painting that you said you were going to do for the platform. She says, looking forward to seeing your self-portrait film, Lewis. Sasha from England. Your sea painting film on the beach is an all-time favorite. Thank
Oh.
you so much for these East October films. Invaluable advice.
Well, that is so sweet to say. Thank you. And I can't wait. I love teaching. I just have a heart for it, and I love imparting knowledge that I didn't have access to at a younger age and wish that I did, and want everyone to have the more access than I did. So I hate it when I feel like people might be out there not knowing where to go. So the fact that you appreciate it makes it all the reason to do it more. Thank you for saying that.
And Alyssa is also saying, when painting the shadows of flowers, I found it bizarrely difficult to ascertain the color, and I'm not sure why. And watching Erica wield a palette knife is mesmerizing.
Hey.
I noticed that I think most people mix by like the bottom of the palette knife is what they're using. I never did it. I don't know why. Nobody told me that that's how you're supposed to do it. So I always mix like I push really hard down to scrape it and mix it like that. But like every other video I've seen, it's like I'm using it the opposite way. But now I can't go back. It like feels too awkward for me to go like try to mix it like this.
It's your signature move.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what it is.
That's so good.
Which brings up a point, like, there's so much information out there, and it's hard to know what, everybody has a different way of doing things, and then you go to an art supply store and you just have like all this paint and all these brushes. And if you're a beginner, like, I don't even know what to pick, what's a priority, why is this paint $50 and this other one like $9, what's the deal? And you have all these mediums, it's like, it's so overwhelming. That's how I felt.
Absolutely overwhelming.
And we have some sweet comments about our platform. Esteban says, "It sounds exciting. I already signed up for the atelier courses and I highly recommend it." And Millie also says, "I highly recommend it too."
Oh, sweet Millie. She's always been such a big fan, and she's taken 2 of my workshop classes, and she's about as sweet as they come.
I'm so glad we got to meet her at Portrait Society. She was like one of the best and nicest people I've met there.
I feel like that was her first time, too, coming.
Oh, I think you're right.
Well, I hope she comes again, and on top of that, can't wait to see her when I go to Scottsdale again.
Oh, yeah. When is your Scottsdale workshop?
My Scottsdale workshop is in February, I believe. I'll have to double check that. Speaking of, I need to start getting ready for it.
Yeah, if anyone's in the Arizona area, Lewis is going to be there teaching a workshop.
Whoop, whoop.
I wonder if it's on their website. I'm going to check.
It is. It's definitely on their website. It's either March, January, February. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's either February or March. I wanted to make sure it was far away from Portrait Society because I had to do back-to-back last year, and it was brutal.
Yeah. Wow, I'm on their website right now at Scottsdale Art School, and they have quite an impressive roster coming up. Holy cow.
Yeah, they have a lot of great people.
Julio Reyes is doing an egg tempura.
Yeah, he did one here in Raleigh. It's pre-pandemic, so probably 5 years ago. Oh, I missed a whole little section that I need to get some paint on before I start moving forward to the next phase.
Yeah, on time it's 3:30, just so everyone knows. An hour and a half in.
Sweet. So we basically have another
Hour and a half.
hour and a half.
Yep, we're halfway.
This painting will not be finished in an hour and a half. But that's not the goal.
You're talking about we're going to hear a whir of the brush happening over there in the corner. Erica's going to be like blasting through it.
It will be my palette knife scraping it off.
Exactly. It's okay. You can hang out and keep painting on it. We'll post it later.
Yeah.
Also, everyone, whatever paintings we do have, from this whole experience, we will be putting them in the studio sale. So keep that in mind, that will be a thing. And so you'll have an opportunity to buy some work for your loved ones or for yourself, for kind of a Christmas present to yourself or a holiday present to yourself. And you would be supporting your East Oaks community. We'd all deeply appreciate it. It's funny because there's a couple of the paintings I've done, I'm like, I kind of want to keep that one. It's like, do I have to put it in the sale?
Those are always the hardest to part with.
Yep,
But you got to think someone else will love it.
that's right.
We have so many paintings here.
That's true. And we always making a few more.
Well, Millie says, Lewis's workshop is amazing. I highly recommend his workshops. I learned so much. He is very generous. Scottsdale Art School is a very special place for us, for sure.
It is. Y'all are lucky to have such a wonderful place. And Trudy Hayes, who runs it, she's a rock star. So she works hard to make it stay nonprofit. If you ever want to support them, they have an art sale called I think the Bow Art Sale, or the Bow to Arts, something like that, where artists contribute work. So I might be contributing a piece this year to it. They reached out and asked me. I'm going to see if I can get something to them. It might be one of these pieces. Who knows? For their sale, so that they can keep supporting. So they're in the heart of what they call Old Town in Scottsdale, which is right next door to Legacy Gallery, where they have tons of like amazing art auctions, and several of my friends show at different times at that gallery. So Michael Klein and Daniel Keyes and Mark Maggiore, Susan Lyon and Scott Burdick. So it's kind of right next to a cowboy museum. So you have to go check it out. It's really, really lovely. Parts of it, you feel like you walked into the Old West, because it's got like these cool old shops.
So now that everyone has most things covered, how are you going to proceed forward?
Well, I think that what I'm going to do now is start paying closer attention to like making sure that all the things are placed in the right spot, at least relatively in the right spot, and adjust anything that I feel like is quite off. And once I have that figured out, then I will start deepening the value range a little bit, and then start sharpening some edges here and there, and like working into the drawing, building that up as well, and kind of pushing some of the color. Yeah, just doing everything.
I'm also doing a little bit of everything, but ultimately I'm starting to specify certain petals, like the important petals structurally, and while doing that, I'm trying to be careful not to overdo the value differences here. So I'm trying to keep the unity. Right now, something that's bothering me, or two things that are bothering me, are the distance between my light and my shadows too far apart, so I need to connect those two. And I also have this yellow coming in from my block-in. I used too much transparent yellow oxide, so now I have this gross yellow that's not tempered down. So I want to make sure that I cover some of that and adjust it. So I like the kind of light impression that I'm getting in the light area here, so I might tweak some of the values in certain, not values, add like a little bit of definition, but I'm going to primarily work on connecting this light to the dark, so that way the whole thing feels like it's bathed in light, not just like the top part of the rose. All while maintaining soft edges.
Easy.
Yeah, piece of cake.
One thing I have to remind myself in floral painting is not to include everything. It always is better when I try not to overdo the quantity of information, quality better over quantity. And so I really think about what is essential. And so I need it to feel like the petal pattern, wrapping around, and then I need the light and the color to work. And so but that doesn't mean I need to include every petal and every little flip and fold that I see. So squinting helps, looking in the black mirror helps. Have my trusty black mirror.
With your cute tape
Yeah.
around it. I remember when I first started at East Oaks and we were upstairs and we had the studios next to each other. You had your floral tape that you used to mark on the floors. It was so cute. You and your
I am a fan of it.
pattern tape.
Any opportunity to decorate and
Yeah, and your just organized gel pen set.
Oh, yes.
Your 30-pack of gel pens.
I love
Great.
my gel pens.
East Oaks is going to have a signature gel pen set for people to buy that's Erica's.
How cool would that be?
The people have a rosemary kit of brushes,
Yeah,
and I have
a gel pen set.
Gel pens. Jelly Roll and I have a deal.
Yep,
That'd be so cool.
that would be cool.
What a fun thing! I would love that.
Jelly Roll, if you work for them, please reach out
Yeah.
to Erica.
Hit me up. Love to collaborate. That's how I'll know I've made it.
Yep.
If I do a collaboration with Jelly Roll.
Aw. Well, now that, we're coming close to the end of the year, I'm already thinking of what planner am I going to get for 2024?
Yes.
We have a question for Erica from Alyssa. She's asking, do you deliberately keep the chroma high in the petal shadows?
The shadows are really challenging to find or to figure out what color they are. Not only is there a local color shift between pink and green happening within the shadow of the petal that I'm trying to compress, it's a white object with a black background, so then you have a lot of gray mixed in there, but I don't want to make it too chalky. So I have basically notes of kind of purpley warmth that's not too chromatic and not too warm, so that it still feels like a light object. I'm keeping aware of quantity of chroma. I don't want to have my largest amount of chroma in the shadow. I'd rather, observing this flower, I'm seeing more intensity as it's bouncing around in the light up in here. So I might make a couple notes where it gets a little bit richer. And then as I go into this, it's going to dull down. And so as I start to get some of the reflected greens kind of dulling down the pink, so it looks quite warm right now, but it will neutralize as I work on it. Does that answer the question?
Perfect.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
The thing I'll have to keep telling myself is this, like, Sargent probably did not do this in a 3-hour session.
Yeah.
You know.
No way. He totally did it in an hour.
He didn't have 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. He did it in 15 minutes.
With his eyes closed.
Yep. Through a mirror behind his back.
That's the secret.
Little did everyone know.
So I usually don't work like this when I paint my flowers, so I'm I'm struggling now at this stage because I actually find it more challenging to approach it like this because I can't keep track of what's what that easily, and then I'll make a note here and there, but the shape isn't exactly right, and so I'm finding it difficult to connect things because of how I'm approaching this.
Yeah.
So the way that I've found a more comfortable process is basically I'll start with the shadow and try to define it a little bit more, draw it out a little bit more, and then I basically work from the darker petals to the light ones, get the big impression, and then start refining the individual petals as needed. That's a very generic description of the process. But what that does for me is that I get a better sense of the drawing. And for me, that it makes a little more sense.
That's good. No, I like that.
But I've seen other approaches where it's maybe not exactly like what I'm doing, but it's, you start really soft and then you start getting more specific as you go. And it has a beautiful impression, but sometimes or a beautiful sense of atmosphere, a beautiful sense of light impression, but I find it challenging with getting the drawing specificity that I'm looking for.
I think, it's just beautiful in the sense that everyone gets to see, even the best and most professionals, like getting a chance and an opportunity to experiment things that they aren't used to. And that's a really beautiful thing. Just to let y'all know, guys, I mean, it's a very vulnerable thing to be up in front of the camera and to show, especially even as professionals, like experimentation. So it's most certainly facing our own fears too, of like trying something new and doing it in a different way. Because all of this that I'm doing, never done it this way before, and I'm having a blast. But at the same time, it's like painting with your opposite hand that you're not used to. It is a unique and interesting experience, but one that's still a blast. Or I find it to be fun. So, yeah, man.
I think that while uncomfortable, it's important to do, or else your vocabulary of your painting will be limited to only the words that you know, and you won't learn any new words.
Wow, that's a
And
truth
so
bomb.
It's like, if you want to get better, you're gonna have to mess up
Yep.
and not pronounce things correctly and not know how to use them and, things like that.
Yep.
I think too, like challenging, or whether it's challenging changing a different approach, or taking an object that you've painted a lot, but then changing the context, or something like that. It just really helps you learn what parts of your method you need to expand on, or areas of the fundamentals that maybe need more work.
Yeah.
We talked about fundamentals, and I'm always thinking about the things that I learned in the first year program at Florence. Like I'm always thinking about those same
Yep.
concepts, things that I taught in workshops. Like even if they're in a more introductory setting, it's like they're essential. At any skill level, you need to continue to work on those things.
Totally.
Because you find more and more sophisticated ways of applying them. I think that's what ultimately you're doing when you're painting, is like you're still thinking about shadow shape, light shape, value control, edge quality, things like that. You're just finding more and more nuanced ways of approaching it.
Absolutely.
One thing I'm trying not to do, while considering a lot of soft edges here, I'm not trying to like generically blur the whole thing. There might be a moment where I'm like, oh, for connectivity's sake, you can connect, but, or you can make sure that there aren't like thick ridges in between two brush strokes. But I'm not trying to like just blur for its own sake. I'm trying to make the values and colors flow and feel soft by what I'm putting down, versus just like doing a kind of filter over
Yeah.
it.
You're being
That's
more
good.
intentional
I'm
with
trying
it.
to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's a fine technique when you are, for example, intending to paint over it, and then you're not having any ridges or sharp edges that are distracting. You can kind of blur it, but I wouldn't like leave it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No. You can tell when someone's hiding behind keeping it blurry for the purpose of like hiding behind something that
If they don't know
or
what it is.
scared,
Yeah, yeah.
to paint, versus it being used as a tool, of saying this is coming in front of this, or this is like, in this instance, Sargent is using it as a point of poetry. He's not saying that this should be in front of that and that should be in front of this. It's more of like saying that creating the unexpected is the beauty of this painting. I even used it, and Millie might remember this, I used this painting in my lecture at Portrait Society last year. I made that little section a little too big. Go in with...
We have a question from Nick. He's asking, Lewis, is there any particular advantage to holding the brush overhand, or it's just preference? I'm just not sure I've ever seen that.
Well, I hold it the same way I hold my pencil. I'll work on things. I can get closer to my panel that way. I feel like because I have my hand where the back of the stem is being pushed to the back of my hand, and the finger is pushing at the front, I have a lot of control. But then if I don't want to have as much control, I can lift it off my hand and then like let the brush do the work of staying on a clean line. And so in a way, it just gives me more control options. That's a good question, though. I'm going to try it 30 minutes, then like switch over to just doing like the hands so that I make sure I leave time to really focus on those.
I can't wait to see you do the hands. Hands are hard to paint, but honestly, I think they are the most beautiful parts of a lot of paintings.
You know, long ago I had a client that their parent wanted to like weigh in on the photo that we were choosing for the pose. I often will do a photo shoot just to get the pose set, to get an idea of what the pose is, even if I'm painting them from life. And she came in. It was funny because she came in with like this mentality of like, I'm going to show my education so that like you'll listen to what I have to say. And she was like, you know, well, the way you really tell a good portrait is you just look at the hands. You just see what the hands are doing and see how well they're painted and like how accurate and how detailed they're painted. And, you know, there's a moment where I tried to like very gently be like, well, I mean, if you look at a lot of the greatest painters of all time, sometimes their hands are insanely abbreviated. You know, I use Sargent as the example. If you look at some of his paintings, there are just a few wisps. Not that they aren't accurate, they are, but just the idea that she was making a point of saying like the detail of the hands. And it's like, well, sometimes they're not detailed, you know, and you can even see that in some of Rembrandt's paintings, you know, where it's not the emphasis of the painting, it's not the portrait isn't in the hands, but it's lovely when the hands are incorporated as part of the poetry, and this is a perfect example of that. I love, love, love the hands in this piece, and having her back turned the way it is. They play such a key role in making this piece beautiful.
Yeah, you can't really compare like Sargent's hands versus Bouguereau's hands because those are two completely different painters, and some might say then Bouguereau is the correct way of painting hands, when Sargent is the incorrect way.
Exactly. And that's more of the point, you know, is exactly that. This is going to be fun.
I also think it's really cool when paintings feel detailed, but they're really not. Like, and of course, Sargent, master of like...
Yes, exactly.
of, even like a master of compression within a brushstroke of like, there's so much understanding behind a seemingly sketchy mark. It's really fascinating to look at. So sometimes think, you know, it might feel like detail, but it might actually just be compressed.
And some of his super fresh marks that may have been done in one stroke may not have been done on the first try.
Ooh, exactly.
Like he's probably wiped it away and done it again until he felt like he got the right one stroke.
Yep. And there's like legends of exactly that. Was concentrating, so I couldn't talk much. Speaking of trying to make that one stroke and not having to like redo it.
There's a legend, but we're not going to know about it.
Yes. But like for those of you who've never heard it, you know, it's kind of often talked about in our art circles, but like where a table, some people say it's Madame X. There's another painting that people attribute it to, but where he had like a tabletop and there's like an edge of highlight on the tabletop, on the corner edge of it that was going across, and he painted it once, and then he painted it again, and like he couldn't get that highlight right, so he would like scrape it all off and then repaint the whole thing again until he felt like he got it correct. And I think they said it was like 20 some times. I don't remember the exact number, So, but I feel like it's in one of the writings of somebody who studied under him or was observing him or something. I don't know
Sounds
quite
familiar.
what book it is in.
Those legends.
The legend.
I love stories like that, though. Like we were talking about that the other day, how some artists would be really petty back in the day. Like Degas had a term for Bouguereau where he'd say like a painting has been Bouguereaued because he didn't like Bouguereau's work and thought it was too tight and refined, so he would use it as an insult. And then Erica, I remember you saying people would call Joshua Reynolds Sir Sloshua because I guess people thought his work was really sloppy.
I think it was okay, I found this on Wikipedia, so you know it's true. It was the pre-Raphaelites didn't like Sir Joshua Reynolds' technique or something, so they called him Sir Sloshua. And it was so petty. It was so funny. People never change.
No, people never change.
No. Yeah, you think it's just today that they gossip and, are petty about people. Nope, still there. Still there in the
It
old
feels like a
times
nickname,
past.
though, that someone would come up with today, like Sir
Yeah.
Sloshua.
Yeah.
It does.
There is, I would love if like we found some ancient letters from like Babylon, because they do have things like this where like somebody's like gossiping about somebody else, I don't know if they have that exact thing, but they do have like, common things, like a common conversation thing happening, It would be hilarious to see, what they were saying back then.
I remember seeing something, I don't know how true this is, but apparently they found some kind of writings on the walls of the bathrooms in Pompeii.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
And it was kind of similar to like how people will write on the bathrooms, like Tina was here or
Yeah.
something, and there was similar.
Or something a lot more crude than that.
Yeah. And they found similar writings on bathrooms in Pompeii. So we never change. And we have a comment from Alyssa. She's saying, I'm wallowing right now in artistic nirvana. East October, pathway to artistic nirvana. So much brilliant information in this session. Thank you, Louis, Erica, and Tina.
Oh, thank you for being such a support this whole time.
For being so like particularly kind.
Isn't it lovely?
I appreciate it.
We have some cool people watching who support us.
We need a lot of those people to combat the trolls of the world that have nothing better to do.
Yeah. Whenever I think of internet trolls, there's this show called What We Do in the Shadows, and if anyone hasn't seen it, it's amazing. But it's basically some vampires in modern day, and one of them is a type of vampire called an energy vampire, and he will drain people's energies instead of drinking their blood. That's how he gets his source of food. So he'll be an internet troll, and he will suck people's energy from their anger on their comments from his trolling. So whenever I see a troll comment, I imagine
always
Colin
It's just-
Robinson is behind it. And then I
It's
don't
just him
allow
like,
myself. Yeah, I don't allow myself to get mad because I don't want him to feed off my energy.
Exactly, and so you just giggle it off.
Yes, and then I delete. What were you checking just then, Louis? Were you doing a...
I was just doing an alignment to the top of painting just to see if everything feels like it's in alignment to itself. At least enough. I'm not trying to get it perfectly accurate. It's just, it would be too much to, I'd be spending far too much time on the drawing aspect and not enough time on the actual exercise that we're trying to accomplish here. This is a perfect example where there's just like this beautiful soft edge on one side, hard edge on another. On the other side of it, it creates this like beautiful shadow relationship happening. That part of the painting. So much is said in all of the little abbreviated things in this part of the painting. Not just important to get the like all the shapes right, but to actually think about what's happening in the anatomy, because it'd be easy to get the shapes slightly off and then like the anatomy just falls apart.
Do you know what the shapes mean?
Exactly. They all are informing something. We talk a lot about that here when we're working. What everything modifies another thing. So what's it saying? What's happening?
Darn, just put my light brush into my dark paint.
Oh,
Oh no.
It's okay.
I hate when that happens. I do it all the time. I do it at least once every hour.
Just love to hear an alarm, just like dee 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 dee. Okay, well, it's on the hour, on the half hour. Time to.
One thing I like about this new approach that I've been doing today, I liked the beginning. I liked the mark making of my paper towel. Now I like that things are tacky. So when I'm painting over them, it sits on top, but also connects at the same time, allowing a nice integration of marks. So I might take some of the tools into into my next painting.
See, that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. When you start experimenting and pushing out past your comfort zone, you might discover something new that would work. That makes me so happy to hear.
I mean, one of my favorite things about painting is that it's basically problem solving.
Yeah.
It's like a puzzle. Like, how do I put this puzzle together? Like, what is the puzzle and how do I put it together?
Yep.
I also just think it's super cool to learn different methods and finding out how they're related or dissimilar, or maybe they're opposite approaches, but they have the same concept behind them. And I just think it's so cool. Again, the light brush and the dark paint again.
So it's 4:05, so we have a little less than an hour left, just so everyone knows.
Perfect.
And I'm curious to know, for our viewers, which painting their painting today. Are they using any of our reference images, or if they're doing something from life? Feel free to share. We're all interested to know.
Yeah. Anyone having fun yet?
Oh, well, Cove says he's doing the same one as Lewis.
Hey, can't wait to see it on Discord. Cove's been posting so much, so well. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, the Discord has a really good flow right now. A lot of people are actually getting to know each other, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We have a comment from Becca. She says, when I get to the tacky time frame of the painting, I will sometimes paint all day into the night because I'm in the zone. Those are the best days when you just don't feel like stopping.
Yep,
Love it.
those are the best days.
And Jonathan says he's working on the Carlson study, which is a really great piece. I'm curious to know which one, because actually the green one, the with the vase, that's done by his son, which is, we don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Dines or Dines, but it's Dines Carlson, and the bird one is by Emil Carlson. And we have Scott Ruthven, who is also saying, I am working up composition thumbnails as the next step to take a plein air landscape to a larger studio piece.
Sweet.
And he also says, I really enjoy listening to you all in the background.
Thanks for joining. Yeah, those comments are kind of like just the opposite of the energy vampire. They give me energy to keep moving forward. Just trying to go in and make sure that I have enough color on these fingers before I start adding more detail to them. Or adding the hard edges to them.
That peachy color for his fingertips, the fingertips there are really nice. I love that color.
No, isn't it great?
And Jonathan, yes, it's Dines for the spelling for Emil Carlson's son, who has a really great portfolio of paintings and is very similar to his father's work. So you can tell he was influenced by him, but he has some really great paintings.
Yeah, I actually sometimes didn't know it was his son.
And Judith is saying, I love Sargent, so I couldn't resist doing the hands. I tended to dwell on the lovely movement of the dress. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, that's I love that people are taking their own initiative with it, finding their way of expressing it.
And Lean says, I can't comment. Too focused painting details.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is at the point where the painters tend to get quiet because they have to focus, which is totally understandable. It's hard to paint and talk.
Oh man, it's like juggling.
Yeah.
It's like juggling and balancing something on your nose.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like once the live stream is over, it's hard to formulate sentences, honestly.
Yeah.
Just takes everything out of you in the best way possible.
Absolutely. I've been calling it the brain scramblies. I'll leave and I'll go upstairs and my wife will be like, how'd everything go? And I'm like, well, ask me in 15 minutes after I've like regained some thought,
Yeah.
regained my faculties.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing about coming home to my cat because she just like is
She's
excited to see
sang
me.
that.
And she'll just like sit on the couch with me while I just stare at the wall.
It's kind of like she'll just like stare at you and be like, you good? Okay, good. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
I love that, like, if you pay close attention to these hands, he has the tiniest amount of fingernails
Really?
in them. Yeah, this like little notch right here. It's just a hint of fingernail coming from here and right on the edge of this one as well.
I love that.
Just like, it's one of those, like, until you're painting it, you probably wouldn't like think about it, and then you were painting it and you're like, wow, genius.
Makes me mad. Makes me mad at him. Why are you so good?
clever.
Why do you have to be so clever?
And Becca says, art is right brain and speech is left brain thinking, which is interesting.
That would make sense.
See, I was wondering what my problem was.
Yeah. And Lean says, some people say it must be so relaxing to paint, but I am sometimes exhausted.
That always
Yeah.
makes me laugh when people say that.
Honestly.
I mean, there are moments where I'm like in the zone, and that's. But I don't know if I would call it like relaxing. Like it's intense in a cool way, like not in a bad way, but it's like it's not always fun either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like I feel like when people have the expectation, like when you tell them, oh yeah, painting is my job, like I'm an artist, I'm a painter.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your job must be so fun, like all the time, just having so much fun, chilling and painting, and it's so much more than that. Sometimes we
Yeah.
cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you want to break your brushes. Just know what you're getting yourself into. If people wanting to get into this profession, be like, you know what, it's great. Like, I would never choose another career, but you still have bad days. And I just would rather have a bad day doing this than any other thing, than sitting at a cubicle for sure. But and I'm glad that there's people out there that love going to work every day doing whatever it is. Like an accountant, gosh, I'm so glad that people out there love doing that, so that I don't have to. And it really is helpful. But this is just like a job like anything else. And it's good for people to have that reality so that they don't have false expectations.
I think it's comforting to know that if you're struggling, that's not a bad sign.
Nope, exactly.
If you get frustrated, it's not a bad sign.
If anything, it's a good sign because you're pushing yourself and you're learning. And we have a comment from James McCormick. He says, fabric, hard, soft brushes. Last 2 weeks have built up my courage to try a study of Guido Reni's Archangel Michael, hard and soft edges. In September, I would never have thought of attempting this.
Wow. Well, that makes me so happy.
It's working.
Yes,
People
do
are
it,
learning.
do it. Need to pull out this part of the dress just a little more.
My drawing was off.
So I have room to pull that in.
Well, Becca says, both paintings are lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Louie, are you excited for tomorrow?
Yeah, I can't remember what tomorrow is, but I'm always excited.
Tomorrow is opposite day.
Opposite day. Oh boy, explain to everybody what's happening tomorrow.
So, tomorrow, we are going to be doing a difficult challenge, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be both Louie and I painting tomorrow, where we essentially start the painting with our non-dominant hand. So we're both right-handed, so we're going to be using our left for the block and drawing portion of the painting. We're going to work from a live model. The live model happens to be my fiance, so that'll be fun. I get to paint him. And then we're going to switch to our dominant hand. I'm not sure at what point yet, but that way we can fix the drawing, and then we can see how we're able to adjust according to that. And so that's tomorrow, opposite day. So if everyone's going to be participating in that, you just need either a live model if you have a friend, family member who's willing to sit for you. You can do a self-portrait from a mirror, or you can work from a photograph is also an option.
Or, or an old master painting, anything. We won't be providing an old master painting for that one, but if that's what you want to do, you can do it from that too.
Yeah, or you can use the previous Painting from Life reference images. If you're signed up for the newsletter, you'll get a link to the reference images, and we have like 35 images from our Painting from Life sessions, which we haven't really talked about Painting from Life on here, but what we usually do every month is we'll do a monthly live stream. So every third Thursday night, we'll all get together and we'll paint a model and we'll stream that live on YouTube. So we're going to resume that in November, but we didn't do it for October because obviously we're very busy with this. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that next month. And Joyce is saying, wow, tomorrow's challenge will be very challenging. It sure will be. I am nervous. We'll see how it goes.
Tina, you got this. You're ready for it. I believe in you.
Well, if it goes wrong, I'll just say I painted all of it with my left hand.
Yeah, exactly. I never switched over.
Never. Oh, we were supposed to switch? I had no idea. I was trying to do this all with my left hand. And Judith says, I have been busy painting and never saw your paintings. Beautiful. Erica, your flower is great.
Thank you.
This is the part of the stream where I solicit the audience for jokes.
Yay.
So I can fill the air while everyone is concentrating, and I can use some of our fun sound effects.
That's awesome.
Let's see, this is my personal favorite sound effect we haven't used yet on any of these days, I don't think, at least not intentionally. Let's see. I played the sad trombone.
Wah, 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 wah. So one of the goals to think about, like when you're working on this one's, considering there's several people working on it, is not that you have to get the drawing right or perfectly get the, this is not necessarily about getting a master copy. This is more, focus more on seeing how, focus your eye and understanding of how they are Sargent's doing edges, thinking about what decisions he's making on the edges and why, and less about are you getting it exactly right. Sometimes I have to tell myself this in order for me to make sure I'm making the right decisions in the demonstration. A lot of reasons for doing a master copy, and to know what the reason is going in for you is very important.
I find it helpful to remember it's not a forgery, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're not trying to reproduce it to such a degree of it, or replicating like that. But
Also brought speaking of the drawing, I noticed I had brought the highlight far too low over here. I'm
Unbelievable. How dare you, Louis?
redoing that little highlight spot area, even though it's not going to be perfect, but it just is representing the same idea.
sometimes when you notice things like that towards the end, it's like, do I need to change it?
Yeah, yeah.
It depends.
It depends on how much time I have left. Yeah,
Well, it
you start
depends on
making
what
all
it
sorts of
is,
weigh in
you know? If
moments.
it's like the proportion of the head, yeah.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, it's really uncomfortable, but you have to do it.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I have like blinders on when I'm painting, and then all of a sudden they'll just come off and I'll see something that's really wrong, and I hadn't seen it at all before.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Ah, the beauty of community right there also,
Yeah, honestly.
because they'll help you have extra eyes on it.
That in the mirror.
Yes. Oh, I love my mirror.
Me too.
I'm so glad I didn't accidentally break it today. It fell off of my little tray thing that I used to hold all my art supplies in, and it hit the floor, but it survived.
Oh, so I want to put some of this chunky paint in. I hope I get to it.
Well, you can always work on it after and then just post it.
Oh, I totally will, kind of like complete it to what the exercise is for. But I hope that everyone gets to see. So I might move over to it in a second just for the fun of the audience.
And Joyce is asking, I think that I would be a bit stumped on that ring finger on Sargent's painting. It seems to be in an odd position. So, Lewis, what is your thinking when painting that part of her hand?
The ring finger, what part of it is stumping you? I guess is what.
She said it seemed to be in an odd position. So I can kind of see it kind of just lays a little strange when you really look at it.
Yeah, I think it's the hand underneath it that's making it lay that way. Where like all of them are kind of like being supported by the hand underneath. And I think that's what's going on there. But I don't know if I have a thought on that. Because it seems okay because, well, I'm just believing Sargent to have made it. Oftentimes we blindly trust things. And so maybe I'm just blindly trusting that he had it in the right spot, and I'm so concentrating on everything else that I'm not paying attention to the potential of it feeling a bit awkward. But I absolutely have seen, Sargent. There's one where there's a lady like with her hand extended over a couch, or there's another dancer, and I mean they're just like turned up wisps that kind of do this, but they do it almost in an exaggerated way, and you feel that his intentionality was to be that exaggerated with it, but it still feels a little off.
Yeah, I guess it's important to ask yourself, how would the audience take this in, rather than being like, oh, well, it looks like that because of this. You have to ask yourself, will the audience understand that, or will they need that to be told to them? And if that's the case, then maybe you should add to it to clarify, so that way there is no confusion.
That was beautiful. Where do you go, Tina?
Thank you.
I think there are things too in the setup, like when you're setting up a pose, to take a look at it, try to view it from like a layman's point of view of seeing it, so that way you're like, does this make sense? Like, is holding something like this feel natural? Like, if it looks awkward in the pose, you know what I mean? Then you might need to adjust the setup. And so, versus it being like, oh, well, it looks like that in nature, I'm just going to copy it. Well, that might be a design thing that you need to adjust the pose.
Yeah, because things can look awkward in nature. Things always
Yeah,
doesn't look good just naturally.
Oh, we talked about that so much at GCA, where like the model might be in a particular way where there's a foreshortened weirdness going on, and they're like, actually don't paint it that way. Put it this, because the audience is not going to know the context of that thing.
Right.
And Tina and I've talked about that a lot at different times, where it's like, you're painting exactly what you see, that's right, but you might want to add this extra little tail to this part of it or something to help inform the audience of the foreshortening nature of something, and that's just a really good thing to have in your arsenal, in your painting, to know that That's a thing.
I think part of painting is like the whole practice of it, you know, and drawing. You're showing the viewer something. You know, it's not about perfectly replicating what you're seeing. It's like demonstrating to the viewer and explaining to the viewer, this is what's happening. And so I think that having an understanding of anatomy and things like that can help you when maybe
100%.
something looks awkward in your setup or in nature, like it can help you adjust that so you can demonstrate to a viewer what's happening without them having to see the original context.
Yep.
Yeah.
Preach it. Love it.
Oh, we have a special viewer, Evie.
Oh, Evie's with us.
She says, love you all so much. Big, big thanks to Erica for covering for me today. I'm stuck at home with a fever, and she so kindly filled in. Looking so beautiful, you guys. Aww.
Evie's the best, and we wish her a speedy recovery.
Yeah. Get lots of snuggles from Shrody, and drink lots of fluids. Eat some soup. It's a
Drink
good day
some
for
tea.
soup.
I love it when I see like a new sharp edge. I'm like, ooh, I need to put that in. I forgot.
I guess I'm only going to paint like a quarter of this painting.
It's okay. You and I can hang out later and keep painting.
I mean, 3 hours is really short when it comes to a painting, especially, you know, an 8x10, 9x12. It's a lot to do. But I think everyone deserves a round of applause for all of your painting abilities today.
I think I can hear it.
Really?
That was awesome.
There's one guy in there that's very enthusiastic.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that guy.
I love that guy. It's like you know him personally.
Yeah. I just call him Guy. Way to go, Guy.
We actually had a viewer named Guy, so this is perfect. We'll just say it's him. Thank you, Guy. We have a joke from Christopher.
Oh, good. Joke time.
What did the oil painting say to the canvas? I've got you covered.
That's
So good.
great.
Good jokes here. Good jokes.
Nothing like joke time. To keep us going.
And it's last half hour. It's 4:34, so time's running out.
You got this. This is where like when like I'm out of a certain paint color and I'm like, I don't have time to put more paint down. But you got to.
What paint was that you just put down?
That's lead tin yellow. See if I can put it down as chunky as he's got it. Yeah, some of these like big paint colors in here. Add a bit more yellow into that.
To be careful. This is when the bad habits come or the bad practices come. Like, I'm going to mix with a small brush. Maybe not. I'm gonna dip the lightest brush into the darkest paint.
Of course. Ooh, got the palette knife out.
Like how can I
Palette knife.
ridge some of that paint up?
Ding.
Yep. We need an audience ooh
We
thing on
do.
our deal.
I could do the air horn. That's kind of, that's kind of good.
Pew, 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 pew. I can hear it in my head.
I'm gonna do. That one's just a little aggressive, and sometimes it scares me.
Bigger, soft brush for that.
And Joyce says, I agree. Applause to all. Well done, and a big thank you for another excellent East October session. By the way, I love lead tin yellow too.
Hey, yeah, it's one of my favorite colors. I go to it all the time. I feel like just now is the fun part. I should have like got the painting to this point and then just started streaming from this point, you know?
But I'm sure people appreciate seeing how it came together,
Yeah, oh yeah,
because that's
true.
so important.
Are you thinking about edges differently at this stage of the painting?
Yep, I sure am. I'm thinking about how I can create those sharp edges and like to pull off the same things that Sargent was trying to pull off. And the reason I love this painting is that it has so much poetry in how he used his edge quality in this piece. It's not trying to declare what's forward and what's behind. It's more of like trying to, in an interesting way, basket weave all of these different things together, all these different little spots. So, and like say, well, I didn't have a particular edge like this in that area, so I'm gonna make that a little bit harder. And then that one doesn't, I've got a lot of soft going on in this area, so I'm gonna make this harder over here. And I've got a lot of hard stuff going on over there. So, and just like, there's a whole lot of that kind of stuff happening in this painting, where you're kind of breaking the rules to what is a traditional convention of what you use your edges for. And for those reasons, I think it's quite fun.
An artist loves to paint with cadmium red, but he got arrested. Why? He was caught red-handed.
Yes.
And Julie is asking, what brand of lead tin yellow do you use?
It is Michael Harding. And it's really great. I'm starting to get the claw, Erica.
Always thinking of the aliens from Toy Story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, mentioned it last time.
How do you keep track of your claw?
You know, people have asked me that as like when I was a workshop instructor of like, how do you know what brush to pick? I really like except for the times where I obviously put the light brush in the dark paint, you know, I have no other system other than just looking at them. I just look at them. There's not like,
That makes sense.
I just check to make sure it's what I want. But I do have like different shapes and sizes going on, so that is part of my decision of which brush to choose is dependent on size and shape as well.
So they're not in alphabetical order, organized on each
They're
knuckle?
not organized by value. Yeah.
I'm going to pull this in just a little bit.
Why did Van Gogh become a painter? Because he didn't have an ear for music.
I am digging all of these jokes. So great.
And I have been doing the rim shot, but after each one.
Yes.
And we have a comment from Lean. They're saying, I didn't watch much, just listened while painting. And every time I looked at the screen, I was amazed by what you all have done so far. Thanks again, all wonderful people at East Oak Studio.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
sweet.
Always grateful for the kindness.
Mm-hmm. We have a question from Evie. She says, question that others might benefit from. Do you guys have any advice for varnishing pieces with heavy impasto areas, or advice on testing the surface before to make sure it's ready for varnish?
What's
great
that
question.
that trick? The like you have your fingernail
Mhm.
twist in your thickest areas and make sure nothing moves.
Yep.
Now, and you have to push hard too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, given all of that, you're not going to want to do it too early.
Yes.
high risk situation. So, I don't know.
Yes.
Wait as long as you can when it comes to varnish.
Yeah, better to be safe than sorry. But I am not the best with that, so I'm totally going against my advice because I just varnished a painting today that I finished 2 weeks ago. Living life on the edge. Everything was fine.
Everything worked out.
Was I scared? Yes. But you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yep. Have y'all been seeing, like, there's a meme that's been going around about that?
Oh, yes. I saw Tyler Berry reposted it on his story. And it's, isn't it from Ted Lasso?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you can do whatever you want to do.
Live.
Yeah. It's so good. I wish we could pull that up.
I
'Cause
know.
I just love how it was done. All right, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. It's 4:44.
15 minutes to make this a masterpiece. Yeah. No, I was kidding.
Well, Sargent did it in 15 minutes.
Right.
We have.
Why can't
proof.
I?
Matt is asking, what's everyone's favorite shape of brush? I like an Egbert.
I like the name.
I
Yeah.
love the name.
It's like saying it.
Yeah. I have a villager on Animal Crossing whose name is Egbert. He's a chicken.
It's perfect. I use a lot of filberts and spotters, pointed rounds. Spotters are the shorter. Here, let me find one. Like this, where it's a little bit shorter than a pointed round like that. And I use them a lot in botanical painting. Filberts are great because they, you can use it as an angle, you can use it as, you can make a mark straight, but then it's, because of the curve at the end, it's like a little bit more integrated with the rest of the painting than a flat, for example, can be a bit linear. So I usually oscillate between the spotter and a filbert. And then I will also have my pointed rounds. But I find that they can be kind of linear too, depending on how I use them. And so I have to be aware of that when I'm painting, not to create unnecessary lines and thinking of things in lines rather than shapes. So sometimes I can do that with or I do that too much with the pointed round.
Yes, I actually like filberts, and I kind of use them all. I just use them in different places for different reasons too. Because I use flats a lot for hair and hair situations, and then hairy situations.
Hold on.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. I couldn't hear it, but I know it was there. So, and then I will use, look at that, I just got my finger in a alizarin trying to use it as a fulcrum. Well, can't say this is not a bloody occupation. Where's the brown? Give me another one. Oh.
We're getting slap happy.
Yep, exactly. You know it's at the end of the day when we start doing all this kind of stuff. But yeah, there's a reason for every brush that I use, but I would say I use rounds and filberts the most, because I can find I have a particular type of control that I want to have in my work.
I really like long flats, are really useful too. Love those. And we have a question from Lozano Fine Art. Question for Lewis. Do you know what topic you're lecturing on at the next Portrait Society conference? I learned a lot from your last one, so I'm looking forward to next year's.
Oh, wonderful. So glad you were there. I have several different things on a panel this year with, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think and paint at the same time. Who am I on the
Mary
panel with?
White?
Mary White, yes. I'm on the panel with Mary White.
And a watercolorist.
Yep. And I'm drawing a blank of her name too. But both incredible painters, and I know their work well. I mean, I know Mary White's legendary as a watercolorist.
Is Dawn Whitelaw also on it? Or
Or
maybe not.
She actually at one point requested that I be on that panel and was on it. And then I don't think she's on it. I can't remember if she's on it anymore or not. But that whole panel is about the business of art. And so we'll have that in one of the breakout sessions. I'm doing a workshop at the beginning. So the Thursday before the whole day kicks off, they asked me to do another workshop. And so I'll be doing that. And then, let's see, the other thing that I'll be doing is, oh, there's that one. I will also be doing a demo at the end as the closing ceremony or the closing thing that we do. So on Sunday will be the last demo of the weekend. So And that'll be just a portrait, but we will be having the lovely ladies at East Oaks joining me for conversation, just like we're doing here. So, so it'll be kind of like we'll have half panel, half, and then me demoing at the same time.
That'll be fun.
That will be fun.
I hope I
forward
can
to it.
bring the sound effects.
That'd be pretty amazing if you could.
Yeah, so you're going to be busy next year.
Yeah.
Really busy.
And then I'll be doing portfolio critiques. So. I've got to get I think, just got my panel in for 6x9 as well. So I'll be doing that as well.
Wow.
They're working me. Got to earn my keep if they're going to pay for my hotel and my fees.
Yeah. And it's in Atlanta, and the Atlanta hotel is beautiful.
Really is. It's lovely.
I'm excited to go again and see what paintings are in the finalists and all that jazz.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'll have time to submit something because I'll be working so hard on getting all the stuff ready.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can make time. We have Sam McLemore joining us in the chat. She's saying,
Sam.
these look so great. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, Sam's awesome.
Yeah, I hope her show went well. Wasn't she had a Scotland exhibition.
right, she
I wonder
did.
how that show went. Let us know, Sam. And Joyce is asking, what are you going to paint on for the 6x9 painting?
Well, I can't, that's a secret. Or what am I going to paint on? I'll be painting on a panel that's provided for me. But
I guess
what
it
I'm
could
going
go,
to be
yeah,
painting
either way.
is a secret. So
It's a mystery sale.
it is. It's all a mystery. You can't let anyone know who is what.
But it's really fun to guess.
Oh, it is. Yep. And oftentimes you can guess. You know, you'll sometimes know that person's style.
Yeah. Who bought yours? Casey Childs
Yep.
bought yours last year?
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yep. He was so excited about it too. I was glad that it went towards him.
You had a few people fighting over yours. I remember me and Erica were in the crowd. We're like, wow, I forgot what number it was. Like number
Like
30.
number 9 or
oh,
something.
yeah? We're like, wow, number 9 is really good.
So interesting.
And it was of Sweet Evie who's watching in right now.
And then her and Casey Childs were in an elevator together. And then after he bought the painting, which was crazy because I think he said like, oh, is this you in the painting? It looks a lot like you. And then they went out to dinner, which was really cute.
Not as a date. He's
No.
married, but just to kind of clarify there.
That is a good thing to clarify, yes. It was a group
He's a
thing.
happily married man. His wife was lovely. And Evie is so happily engaged right now.
Yes, yes.
She's working on her wedding stuff. It's a fun thing to work on when you're homesick, you know? Maybe you can like bust out your little wedding management app.
Well, Sam says, my painting safely made it to Scotland. It will be on display at the Glasgow Art Club until November 11th. It was quite the experience shipping a painting to a whole other country.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially a larger painting. That's just pretty stressful.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Way to go.
And we have 5 minutes left. Everyone.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's like on like one of the like Squid Games or something, you know. You know, you're about to die. 5 minutes remaining to finish the task or you will die.
Oh, God.
I actually really liked Squid Games.
Yeah, it was really good. I wanted to rewatch it recently, actually. It's good
And it's
for
a good season
Halloween.
to
Mhm.
watch it. And I think they're already filming the next one.
Yeah. Lots of plot twists in that one. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but totally should watch it. And Evie said, yeah, he saw me waiting in line to pay for the 6x9 that I won and was like, wait, hey, is this you? Such a fun moment. Now we know.
Well, at least that makes me worth my salt that he is actually able to recognize it.
Yeah. It was a gorgeous painting. He's lucky to have it.
We're lucky to have Evie pose for us.
Mm-hmm.
Four minutes remaining.
It's actually 3 now.
3 minutes remaining. Ah! Well, maybe I'll put those last few little extra impasto marks in there then so everybody can have fun watching that. I can get my palette knife out of the claw. That wasn't enough paint at all.
Two minutes remaining.
I can't believe no one's mentioned the final countdown.
It's the final countdown. Now we have.
You're welcome.
We're like, now that's become like a year joke because it was about this time last year. That was the first time we mentioned it.
One minute remaining.
Say it ain't so. All right, everyone. Well, while we're finishing up these things, and we'll post them on Discord as we finish them up. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to opposite day tomorrow, where we will be drawing with one hand, and then we'll be moving over to our dominant hand afterwards and painting with it. But as always, these things are so much fun. Look forward to seeing all of the work that you post for us on our Discord. And if you've enjoyed this, please like it and subscribe. Hit the little bell if you want to be reminded. All of those things and all the comments you made always help. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Happy painting again.